meeting of the City School District of Albany Board of Education. If you would like to speak in public comment, there is a pink sheet over on the table and you need to sign up. Now would be a good time. Meanwhile, if you would like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, you are welcome to do that if you choose. I pledge allegiance In addition to saying the Pledge of Allegiance, we always focus our meeting by restating the mission of the City School District of Albany, which is to work in partnership with our diverse community to engage every learner in a robust educational program designed to provide the knowledge and skills necessary for success. Mrs. Adams, do you have a report for us?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much, Madam President, members of the board. This week is American Education Week, and we are so proud to join our colleagues nationwide in celebrating the value of public education to our communities and throughout our society. We recognized our education support staff professionals on Wednesday, and I am grateful for all of the 1,700 teachers, administrators, and support staff who serve our students and families each day. We are committed to building positive relationships with students and families from the moment they walk into our schools and our offices. It takes all of us working on behalf of each of us to ensure that every one of us is successful. Together, we are all in for Albany. Hot off the presses, we have the fall edition of the Capital Education available here tonight. Our award-winning district newsletter once again is filled with excellent articles and photos of the great people and programs happening throughout our school district. This edition of Capital Education there is also a special insert for our families and community members. We have developed a family and community communication guide to help make it easier for our stakeholders to get in touch with the right person to answer their questions and concerns. The Family and Community Communication Guide is also available in the Contact Us section at albanyschools.org. We also have some really good news about Arbor Hill Elementary School. Educators, and most importantly, students from both the School of Education and Albany's Arbor Hill Elementary, a community school, are delighted that the 8-year relationship between the two institutions is not only firm but growing. Currently, 34 students in grades 1 through 5 are involved with the program, matched with 17 special education and literacy master's degree candidates. The pre-service teachers come to the school on Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons and stay after on Thursdays for practicum courses. And they apply the Flying Classroom STEM curriculum along with targeted lessons from the character.org framework. I have had the pleasure of attending a number of community events over this past week. It was an honor to join many of our board members to march with our students in the Albany's Veterans Day Parade on Monday. Our junior ROTC, Winter Guard, and marching band students are always excellent representatives for Albany High School and our school district. I would also like to recognize 2 of our students who served as honorary marshals for the parade. Albany High students Prince Denoho and Edward Reese. Both students portrayed World War I Medal of Honor recipients from Albany. Prince was Henry Johnson, and Edward was Parker Dunn. Following the parade on Monday, I had the privilege of attending the city's Gold Star Mothers Luncheon at the Joseph E. Zaloga American Legion Post. It was an honor to address this group of women whose families have sacrificed so much in defense of our country. I participated in 3 community events on Saturday. In the morning, I attended the Baby Institute graduation ceremony at Giffen Memorial Elementary School. It was well attended with approximately 60 people on hand to celebrate the achievements of these families. I would like to commend Nolene Smith for her dedication to this valuable community program, and we are glad to be a partner with the Baby Institute. I also attended the first Capital of New York State Black Expo at the Albany City Center, celebrating our city's African American community. Our Community Engagement Coordinator, Kathy Edmondson, was also on hand with a variety of information about the school district for those in attendance. Later that evening, it was my pleasure to have the opportunity to recognize the achievements of one of our own district employees at the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity's Women of Color celebration. Andrea West, our newly appointed Assistant Director of Human Resources, was honored as a woman of excellence in the Albany community. Congratulations again on this recognition. Last Friday, I attended the George Biddle Kelly Education Foundation Collegiate Scholars of Tomorrow Stakeholders Luncheon at the Fort Orange Club. One of our students was among the students recognized from Sheridan Prep, fourth grader Kamar Nobles. The GBK Foundation is the education arm of Beta Phi Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. We are grateful for our partners for their commitment to this program. Our district has also had 3 individuals recognized last Thursday at the annual Ignite Volunteer Festival at the Albany City Center. Albany High senior Sky Rivas, Giffen volunteer Dorothy Thomas, and you can read more about Ms. Dot in the Capital Education, and our very own Board of Education member, Tabitha Wilson. Congratulations to all 3 of these special individuals for their commitment to make our community a better place each and every day. So congratulations. This past Wednesday, we had the kickoff event for this year's sponsor, a scholar cohort. 9 Albany High students are included in this year's cohort. I look forward to celebrating their achievements upon completion of this program as well. 8 of our talented Albany High School student musicians will be joining their peers from throughout the region Saturday for the area All-State Music Festival at Saratoga Springs High School. Selected for area All-State Orchestra are Amelia Colafedi playing the violin, Ann Howe playing the flute, and Elisol Stritch playing the French horn. Selected for area All-State Band are Themba Petersy playing the trumpet, and Felix Stresnevsky playing the tenor trombone. Selected for All-State Choir are Jason Lawson, John Nokus, and Peter Wiley. Congratulations to all of our students. Let's give them a round of applause. 2 reminders as we look ahead to next week. Parent-teacher conferences will be held on Wednesday. Parents and guardians, if you have not already scheduled a time to meet with your teacher, please do so. These conversations are very important elements of the homeschool partnerships so that we can make sure that we are having input with regard to our children's success. There will be no school for students on Wednesday to make time for parent-teacher conferences. All of our schools and offices will be closed next Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving recess. I would like to wish everyone a warm and safe holiday with your loved ones. I would now like to invite New Scotland Elementary School Assistant Principal, Miss Marilyn Jones Oliver, to come forward and tell us about the great things happening here at New Scotland. And joining her, I think you have 2 guests or just 1? Okay. Joining her tonight is a 4th grade student, Miss Jaslyn Jones. So welcome and thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone.
Close to your mouth. Close to your mouth.
What am I supposed to say again? Good evening, everyone. My name is Jaslyn Jones. I've been a student at NSCS since kindergarten. I am in 4th grade. My favorite subject in school is math because I like learning to multiply large numbers because I like the challenge. I like the different learning styles in math because my dad shows me all the shortcuts. what I like about what about I what up- what I like about this school. I like my teachers and Miss Jones Oliver. I like the talent shows along with all community activities. I met a lot of great friends. The staff has helped me overcome fears, building self-confidence and providing a safe educational experience. Provided aspects of the school. I like when you walk up the stairs around Christmas time. You hear Mr. Amodio and Mr. Phelps playing instruments. I want to thank the board, Mr. Amodio, Miss Jones Oliver, and my parents for this opportunity. Have a good night. Stay right here.
Thank you, Jaslyn. And board, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight for the very exciting things we're doing here at New Scotland.
Go down to advance, up to backspace. Don't touch any of those.
Don't touch it. Thank you, training. Our mission at New Scotland is to create a compassionate community of everyday learners. And as you can see, we had our Dads Take Your Child to School Day, and we had a wonderful time. Over 150 fathers came. Thank you, thank you. The demographics that we have in the building, we have approximately 502 students, grades pre-K through 5. We have co-taught classrooms, K through 5, pre-kindergarten and kindergarten. We have 4 self-contained autism spectrum disorder classrooms, 913s, 41 ENL students, 72 students with special needs. And our diversity, we have a large diversity. Asian Pacific Islanders, 10.5%, Black African American, 22%, white, 45.6%, Hispanic, 13.7%, Native American Alaskans, less than 1%, multiracial, 7.7%. And I would like to just say that that's one of the students that we have really had challenges with, but he is doing a marvelous job, and I'm just so proud of him. His name is Shane. Shane is awesome. I'm proud of him. And we have 32 classroom teachers, including teachers who teach students with special needs, 1.5 ENL, and it goes down the line. We have 19 teaching assistants, and these teaching assistants, when we call upon them, they're there, they're available. We have shared and direct instruction support, 6 special area classes to include 0.6 band, 0.4 orchestra, and we're still looking for a music teacher. We have hall monitors, 3 hall monitors, 1.5 clerk typists, maintenance workers, 5 maintenance workers, and we have 4.5 social emotional support, which are social workers who are a great deal of effort in our RTIB and RTIA, and of course, Mr. Modio and myself. Some of the things that we're doing in the SEP progress, I would like to just discuss Tenet 2. The goal for June 2019 is that the building principal, Mr. Modio, and I will continue to provide at least an hour of classroom visits weekly. The coaches will provide 2 cycles of coaching per quarter for grade levels, which should show a growth percentile score lower than 50% to increase the implementation of higher order thinking, because that's what we're doing in the building, higher order thinking skills. And some of the activities that we have used as a progression is to continue with the walkthroughs. Mr. Modio and I, before he went out, we were able to accomplish some walkthroughs, and I still do them. And I'm looking at higher order thinking. I would like to see teachers asking questions of students, not just surface questions, but deep thinking. We have successfully completed 1 hour per week of classroom visits, with few exceptions. And our Tenet 3 goal, the instructional staff will consistently plan and utilize higher order thinking questions, materials provided by the new curriculum program offerings, and allow students to develop deeper understanding of their learning, and ELA and math instructional time as evidenced by every grade level and subgroup or above a 50 percentile on NWEA reading and math. Some of the progress that we've made there is for PD. We've had data trends from NWEA data. It was a focus for our November Professional Development Day. Teachers met to align their standards report card grading practices amongst and across grade. The data teaming will focus on mathematics for the duration of the school year, and the math coach has engaged in coaching cycles this quarter around math fluency. So that's been very successful. And as we look at the goal for Tenet 4, by June 2019, all instructional staff will consistently use higher order thinking and depth of knowledge, questioning techniques during ELA and math instruction. And how we've progressed in that area, and I actually have a copy of the book. We're doing the Growth Mindset Coach book. Some of this you may have heard Carol Dweck. She wrote a book also about the mindset. So we've distributed this to the TAs as well as the teachers, and so they're looking at this. And matter of fact, we have an upcoming book read to discuss chapters or August through September or October. And the RTI gap analysis was performed and identified students were provided instructional supports and interventions early this fall. And the 5th grade teachers, they were able to go on a summer trip to successfully implement the basics of AVID program. And in Tenet 5, we will be able to standardize communication, that all building staff will have shared understanding and buy-in in all PBIS procedures, which we have 100%. So all teachers are turning in point sheets every day at the end of every business day on Monday, which has decreased the student referrals to tier 2 and 3. And so that's been really a great feat. The progress we've made here is that we've doubled our membership. We have focused on PBIS Tier 1 meetings on Tier 1 classroom behavior plans and point sheet data. And we feel that the overall PBIS practice has significantly improved from last year. Tenet 6. In that goal, we've talked about the building will have developed and implemented a consistent way to communicate with families, and we've done that through ENL. We have actually an ability that we can translate so that the parents who are not English speakers can understand what's going on in the school. And so with that, bi-weekly information exchange with each family and a 20% monthly increase in the utilization of the school website, so they're able to see what we're doing here. And the progress we made there is that the building leadership team has implemented a purple communication folder system, which is a communication folder that the parents sign on the back, and that'll give us some data as to whether or not they're getting the information and what do we need to do to improve that. We have implemented a quarterly school newsletter in partnership with district's communication department, and we're organizing a communications committee to fulfill the remaining parts of our communication activity, and coordinating with our new ENL teachers to ensure communications are translated. And again, we provide hints and tips on how to support our hearts work with parents at home. So we'll send home examples of what is a hot question. Excuse me. And we have celebrations that we're so excited about. PBIS is on the move, and we showed you Dads Take Your Child to School Day, the Back to School Clap-In. Thank you, Superintendent Kawita, for coming for us on that day. And the ice cream social, open house, parent-teacher breakfast, harvest festival tomorrow, we think, craft fair, winter concert at Hackett, and the Black History Month celebration. And we also have smart technology in every classroom, K through 5, with special area classrooms, and the weather bug you may have seen when you came in. And Dave and I have been talking about the parking. It was a problem. So I think you saw this last time where we had to put up cones so that it will be easy for parents to come in and go out. So as safety, we want all children safe. And there is our back to school clap in. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you about what great things we're doing at New Scotland. Thank you.
That concludes the superintendent's report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jones-Oliver. Everyone should know that she has a fabulous singing voice that she shared with us at the Myers graduation last year. If you weren't able to be there, you missed a fantastic show. So this is the time in our meeting that we set aside to hear from district residents, parents, students, and other members of the public. We welcome community input about the decisions we're making. In addition to accepting comments during this public comment period, we also accept comments by email, by phone, and by regular mail. If you're going to make comments tonight, please keep in mind that by law, information about individual students and specific district staff can't be shared. Every student and every staff member deserves to know that concerns about them will not be aired in public. Also, please keep in mind that public comment is not the best place to first alert the district to a concern you have. Please share concerns first with relevant staff, such as the teacher or principal. If you feel the concern is not addressed adequately, you can appeal that to that person's supervisor up the chain of command, if necessary, to the superintendent. Decisions made by the superintendent may be appealed to the board. Finally, please note that the board generally does not respond during the public comment period. If you need a response, please consider contacting us by email, by phone, or by mail. When recognized by me, please state your name and city of residence. Statements are restricted to a maximum of 3 minutes. You will be given a 1-minute notice and a 10-second notice by Ms. Lang, and I will notify you if your time has expired. The first person who has signed up looks like Charmaika, Jaslyn, and Jay Jones. Did you guys have something to say in public comment as well? No, well, thank you very much, Jaslyn. We really much appreciate your being here tonight. Alana Klein.
Alana Klein, I live in Albany, actually about 300 feet away from this building. Good to see everyone again. It's been a couple months. Congratulations to Demarise for your election and the promotions. And yeah, you probably do remember the last time or the time before, it was a little awkward, which I admittedly intentionally made it so, about the school calendar. And I was just speaking with someone, and I'm happy to hear that it's a more proactive approach this year, kind of getting ahead of the curve so that any conversation about the school calendar, specifically Eid with this past one, we're getting ahead of the curve and not making a reactionary 11th hour decision. So I look forward to hearing what the committee has to say and hearing what you all have to say, hopefully in January or February. Again, the thing that bothered me earlier this year was it seemed it was a question that was brought up at the last minute and was a half-hour conversation, and I felt it deserved more time than that. So thank you for making adjustments to the way you schedule things. Also, I seem to remember back in, I believe it was May, that someone came forward during the public comments, said that they had a son that played lacrosse and was knocked unconscious and asked that you review concussion protocol. I admittedly, like I said, haven't been at the past few meetings. I can go back through the minutes and check to see exactly when that was and what the details were, so I can be more prepared for the next meeting that I attend to. But I would just like to hear if there was any progress with medical procedures, if there's an injury on the sidelines during a game. President Savage, I can email you that concern so we can discuss more offline. Believe survivors, boycott the NRA, Black Lives Matter. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. The next name is Matthew Nolan.
Hi, I'm a resident of Albany. I have a daughter that attends this school. My question is particular to this school. Ms. Jones-Oliver made reference to that there is no music teacher. There has never been this year. We have also not been informed, she mentioned still looking. That is vague. The school year is 3 months old. I don't know how long the process normally takes, but it seems like it's abnormally long already, and it sounds like there's nobody in mind. I think you need to have somebody in place. You had one in place and then moved her out, and I think that you should always consider that leaving something vacant always lends itself to being remaining vacant, and that would appear this. She also mentioned that tenant 5 and tenant 6, one is standardized communication, and the other is communication with families. Nobody understands what is going on in the school effectively. What I'm referencing is Mr. Amodio, we've been told, is on an extended leave. We were also informed that there would be a replacement. There was a replacement for 1 week, and that was it. So the remaining, we understand him to be out at least 2 months, and that seems like a long time to be without a principal. I'm not sure if there's a plan, but I get email updates for even schools I don't have students in, but the schools I care about most, I don't get for O'Neill or for this school important questions like, is there a principal, or is Ms. Oliver acting principal and therefore has the responsibility of the principal, or merely the vice principal, and you're just leaving it vacant until whenever. So I think communication needs to get better and quickly. I think if you speak with parents, and some of you are, you'll know that historically, poor communication with the district. It has not gotten better. And that's it.
Thank you very much. The next name is Jennifer Jones. Thank you, Ms. Jones. So that concludes our public comment for tonight. This brings us to the portion of our meeting we call routine consent. During this part of the meeting, we approve routine matters for the district. These usually include items such as contracts, field trips, hiring of personnel, or other similar matters. Voting on these as a group with no discussion allows us to use our meeting time more efficiently. Each Board of Ed member has the option to set aside any routine consent item in order to require discussion and a separate vote on that item. So I will now entertain a motion to adopt the routine consent agenda. Ms. Smith, seconded by Dr. Chatoor. Are there any set-asides? Seeing none, all in favor of adopting the routine consent agenda. That is unanimous. So that brings us to the policy section of our agenda. Dr. Chatoor?
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. So today's policy section is again a discussion section. So we bring forward to you 3 different policies. Policy 5440, which is alcohol, tobacco, and substance abuse. We were recommended to rescind the policy because it's already covered by the Student Code of Conduct. So that's one of the things that has been recommended by the policy committee. Policy 5460, which is child abuse in domestic setting. The proposed policy gives a description on what should occur when abuse, maltreatment, or neglect of a child have been identified. Those who should report the instances have been changed from school officials or employees to school officials. A list of school district employees that are considered school officials is included in that policy now. The policy also explains what should happen by law in the event that the information is not reported. The policy has been revised by Ms. McKenna to include recommendations from the current NISBA policy. And as we've discussed before, NISBA has a whole list of policies for the school districts, and we use that as a template and make changes as needed that pertain to our district. The last policy for discussion is 0110, sexual harassment. This policy was recently revised, but due to new legislation provided by the state, it was re-revised, and this revision includes definition of employees to be inclusive of all types of employees, addition of non-employees as a protected class, and the definition of such individuals, revision of the definition of sexual harassment to remove gender-based harassment as a separate form, further explanation of what sexual harassment may be, addition of where and when penalties can be assessed if someone is found guilty of sexual harassment, clarifying that the district non-disclosure agreements will be used in accordance with law, specifying that mandatory arbitration clauses cannot be included in district contracts, addition of required annual training on sexual harassment policy, and then minor language edits for clarity and consistency.
Thank you, Dr. Chatoor. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the policies? These policies will come back to us at our next board meeting we'll have to figure out what we're going to do about the next board meeting, as there is some material that we plan to cover today that we have delayed, so that date is subject to change and an additional meeting. Ms. Roach?
I just had a question about the rescinding of the alcohol, tobacco, and other substance use abuse policy. You'd indicated that the policy was covered by the student code of conduct.
It's the code of conduct, not just the student
Oh,
code of
okay.
conduct.
That was, you answered my
Sorry.
question. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the policy section of the agenda? Okay, I think we are ready to move on to our discussion regarding the NYU Teacher Residency Program. Ms. Adams?
At this time, Ms. McKenna and Mr. Petrin will come forward. And the program, many of you may be familiar with this program. It was formerly our EMAT program, where students who were working on a master's degree, they already had a bachelor's degree and they were working on their master's in education. So NYU has renamed the program to the Teacher Residency Program. And so Ms. McKenna and Mr. Petrin will go ahead and provide the summary information.
Is it on? Okay. So thank you for the introduction, Superintendent Adams. Just quickly to remind you that we entered into this partnership with NYU. We started the conversation back in September of 2016, and we then entered into a formal agreement with NYU to have this resident internship program, which started in the 2017-18 school year, and we're now in our second year of the partnership. And so what we would like to do is just take you through the outcomes from the first year and just give you a sense of where we are for the 2018-19 school year.
So part of why we pursued this program was to, and forgive me for scrolling and speaking, is to meet some staffing and talent development needs. There were three main areas that we were looking to address: developing a high-quality, diverse pipeline of candidates, and having qualified teachers come out of programs into high-need areas. So we're not just talking about diverse candidates, but also having men in humanities and women in STEM sciences. So diversity on all levels. So this program will help us meet that need. As well, provide instructional support. So it's something that we have talked about in the past, that we need good qualified building substitutes, and this program allows us to help people get education as well as provide qualified subs that are dedicated to our students. And finally, growing teacher leaders. So yes, we're talking about the community outside, how they can benefit from this program, but also a way that our internal teaching assistants, substitutes, or people that are looking to advance themselves can pursue this program and grow. Yeah.
Where's the power? Okay. So outcomes, high quality pipeline. So there are several high quality pipeline outcomes that we were hoping to see, and we did see. So the first one is having the resident interns supported by NYU faculty and district administrators and our own faculty, in order to really meet the performance expectations that were established for emerging teachers. And the way that they evaluate our interns through this program is using the Charlotte Danielson framework for teaching, which is a rubric to evaluate teachers. We use the NYSET rubric, and this Charlotte Danielson framework for teaching is really aligned to the NYSET rubric as well. In addition to our full-time residency director hired to support our resident interns on site, he also goes in and conducts weekly classroom visits to provide feedback to our interns, and we also have access to our NYU Steinhardt faculty who give ongoing feedback on interns' teaching through videotape analysis, as well as direct face-to-face feedback. And they also provide our teaching mentors with daily opportunities for discussions with interns regarding their progress. It also provides us the ability to develop caring and knowledgeable relationships with the interns, developing caring and knowledgeable relationships with students. And this is an essential foundation of all good teaching, as you know. Upon completion of the first cohort of program in June of 2018, we were able to, our mentors reported that 75% of our teaching mentors rated their interns as showing high levels of success in developing caring and knowledgeable relationships with students. And they also reported that even a higher rate of teaching mentors rated their interns as experiencing high levels of success in the areas of administering classroom procedures, which was 92%, and is assimilating into the school's culture at 83%. I also want to note that from the perspective of the NYU faculty, all resident interns except for one were rated as either developing or effective according to the Danielson framework for teaching. In addition to their impact on student learning in the classroom during their residency year, interns were also formed ties with students that extended into the school community, so they actually went out into the community. For example, an intern bilingual in Spanish and English facilitated a project with their English as a new language students to educate members of the school community about their experience as recent immigrants. Students created a display in the school's main artery that featured student interviews. Ultimately, our partnership with NYU allowed interns to get to know the Albany school community, culture, and communities, and gave them the preparation they needed to be positioned as strong first-year teachers in their own classroom. So they actually extended their visibility in the community, in our extended day learning opportunities in our buildings as well.
We talked about trying to grow our existing employees, but also grow our teacher leaders. So this program gave us the opportunity to add additional leadership capacity to our teachers who were the mentors for these students. So this is an opportunity where the mentors were getting professional development from NYU faculty on how they can increase their practice and be better professionals and grow themselves while supporting a new teacher to the profession. A little survey of the mentor teachers indicated that 83% of the mentor teachers agreed or strongly agreed that the residency director helped them build their capacity in the areas of mentoring and co-teaching. So this was some feedback that they were able to get as they were going through this prospect, not only helping someone new to the profession, but also learning about their own craft more. The other piece that directly benefited our students was it allowed more individualized instruction and lower student-teacher ratios, allowing a mentor teacher. So if the mentee was teaching the class for the day, the mentor teacher was able to spend some more time with students that need additional assistance or supports. A comment from one of the mentor teachers, my intern has been a great resource for me to up my own game. She has come in with fresh ideas and real-life experiences that has made her amazing with the kids. So it was something that we were able to get more for our employees to support our students.
So another outcome was, and I just talked a little bit about this and Matt mentioned it as well, is the resident interns contributing to the City School District of Albany's school community. We mentioned that the interns served as building substitute teachers, which, as you know, is a critical need in our district, and they have been able to really add to the school community, learn about the processes, the procedures, the routines, and get to know the students in the schools that they're doing their internship in. And we were able to meet a variety of needs, building substitute need, and then also their needs as well. In addition, through the close collaboration with district leadership in human resources and instruction, it also led to the revision of the City School District's substitute handbook and procedures that will benefit all substitutes who work in the district. So we found by meeting with our resident interns that there were some gaps in the information that we were providing to our regular substitute teachers, and we were able to further develop that handbook. And just a quote or feedback from our principals who hosted resident interns. 100% of them agreed or strongly agreed that interns contributed to the school community. So our principals who are supporting resident interns in our 3 schools feel that these resident interns are value added to the community.
As with any program review, we like to have some metrics and some numbers with that, so we have that for this program as well. The first piece we talk about is the first year, the recruitment process. So what were the candidate pools like for this program? The first year recruitment that happened between February and June of 2017, we had 28 candidates apply, and 17 of those individuals were offered an opportunity with us. So of that, we had about an 88% acceptance rate, which was the 15 candidates. From 17 offers, we got 15 candidates out of it. And of the enrolled cohort, 40% of those candidates identified as people of color. So that was one of our other aims for this program, to identify diverse candidates that are qualified for the program. And again, we always have, if you will, triple aims, quadruple aims. This was also to target and grow local professionals. 55% of that cohort was from the local area. Year 2, we actually tripled the applicant pool, so we were able to get a much broader reach. We had 80 candidates. Of those candidates, we offered 19, and we ended up enrolling 14 of them. So there was a bit of a dip in terms of acceptance rate from first year to the second year, but again, we saw some great results in that 35% of the enrolled cohort identified as people of color. So again, good aims there.
And I think the reason that we saw the shift from the first year to the second year in the acceptance rate was because we did face-to-face interviews for the most part in year 2, whereas in the first year, because of the shortened timeline and we're just getting the program up and running, and the candidates were applying later than they did in the second year, in the first year we had phone interviews, and in the second year we were able to meet face-to-face. And if we couldn't meet face-to-face with the candidates who applied, we Skyped them in, which was similar to a face-to-face. This slide just shows you the breakdown of the 2 different cohorts, special ed, English, math, science, and social studies, and then we also show you person of color, percentage of person of color, and then how the applicants versus the actual cohort. I won't go field by field, but Matt just summarized a little bit.
And I'll just call to your attention the bottom right of the graph. So we thought it was a good comparison to show the NYU cohort, so they were 40% and 35% people of color compared to the incoming staff that we hired in those years. So in the 2018 hires, 6.5% of those were people of color compared to the program bringing in 40% of that candidate pool. Granted, again, we are looking at 15 people versus the whole population we hired, but again, it helped us get to our goal of increasing diversity within the organization.
And another one of our outcomes were actually hiring the resident interns in the event we had openings in their content area. So we were able to hire from the first graduating cohort, 10 out of the 15 or 67% into full-time positions in our district. 33% were hired as full-time teachers of record to date. The other percentage are in teaching assistant positions.
Some recommendations for the partnership as we move forward. We just have a couple key areas that we thought would be useful, and I'll just add to some of the bullets that are up there. We'll continue to look closely at teacher hiring needs, working with the instructional leadership team to project vacancies and make sure that our resident intern pool is satisfying the needs of vacancies that we have. Cultivating the local pipeline. NYU will partner with HR and communications to help us expand our outreach, making sure that people are aware of the opportunity and expressing interest, or at least knowing that we're here for them. Increasing the diverse, high quality high-quality candidates. We'll continue to partner with the leadership team. Actually, something we found this year is, as well as HR being at the table and Lori as the assistant superintendent, we're bringing the instructional supervisors who are the content experts. They're able to provide thoughts and guidance on candidates that are coming through. So we'll make sure that we have buy-in from everyone in the organization as to hiring these candidates. Substitute staffing, student support. We'll continue to provide support and resources to our resident interns as they're building substitutes for us. The residency director is also a great resource out in the field. He's able to provide coaching and counseling to people and help mentors work with mentees that are struggling or not being as successful as they can be. Readiness for hire. While the program does produce strong results, we will continue to look at candidates, making sure that we are getting the most qualified, the most ready individuals in position at the right time. An example would be that we have a few additional special ed interns out there that went through the program, and just because of staffing needs and how vacancies landed, we were not able to place all of them. So we want to make sure that those individuals have all the skills that they need, whether that's a certification extension or additional things that they are ready and marketable to be used and leveraged within the organization. And then finally, professional learning. We will continue to partner with the Steinhardt NYU program to provide robust professional development opportunities for our own people as well as the interns. Anything you want to add? Okay. And now we'll open it up to questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It's very nice to see something that we worked on for so long to come to fruition. It's a very good feeling. Ms. Smith, I think you had a question.
Thank you very much for this. I will ask my one question, but I have three actually total. Ms. McKenna, would you just go back and talk to me a little bit about the acceptance rate? You talked about the difference between the first year and the second year acceptance rate. I'm not sure I follow. And then related to that, I wanted to know of those that are not accepted, are we able to retain them still within our faculty, and to what degree are we able to retain them?
Yeah, so what we were able to do, if we didn't have openings in their area of certification, special ed, ELA, math, science, social studies, we were able to put them in teaching assistant positions. They also had the option, if we did not have an opening for them, they could take a position in another district, but they still have an obligation to us for 2 consecutive years. So should we have an opening, let's just say in January, actually, is it? In January, sorry. In January, we have rights to call them back for that position.
Okay, so I could leave to go, I've been
Yes.
through the program, I could leave because there was not an opening,
A
but
teaching
I know
position.
that I have to come back
Correct.
if called.
Yes.
Okay, okay. And then the acceptance rate, could you just
So the first graduating cohort for that one?
talk about the difference between the 35% acceptance rate versus the 17%? And I just want to kind of have a better understanding of why a different approach to the interview process, if I heard you correctly, yielded a very different result.
So in the first year, well, a couple things. In the first year, NYU was still putting their processes and procedures in place. They're getting the candidates who were interested, the paperwork, reviewing, making sure that they had the credentials in order to move into the master's program, which then led to the school district interviewing later than later than what we would have liked to have interviewed. And so we were under, I don't want to say we were under pressure to interview those NYU candidates and put them in spots to be ready for a July 1 launch date in the first year. In the second year, so we started the process much sooner with NYU, which then led to a larger candidate pool, and it provided us with more options to select from. Does that make sense? Did I cover that? Yeah.
Ms. Wilson.
I just want to extend my compliments to you. This was very enjoyable presentation. I love the fact that there was like an unintentional byproduct with the substitute handbook. And another question I was wondering about, because I see it sort of like holistically, where you're attracting people with this program, and there's the in-house individuals we could sort of develop. And then, of course, naturally, there's the capacity to retain them. So do you see at this point, and I know it's early, like any sort of indications of how it's incentivizing people to stay with our district? And because obviously they have a relationship, they went through this program. So I didn't know if you could speak to that at this time.
It's really too early, I think. So our first group have graduated. You know, they are beginning their first year with us. We have the multiple milestones, if you will, in their life coming up. So the first milestone, unfortunately, or fortunately, is they have that 2-year commitment. They have to stay with us. So that's the first thing. But the second milestone is really your probationary period. So they need to be successful past probation. But we do talk that up in the program that, you know, we're hoping that you make a lifelong commitment to us. We want you to be here. There are incentives to remain here, not just the financial one, but the fact that by the time you've completed your 2-year commitment to us, you're halfway through probation. Why not continue, then become a good qualified tenured teacher with us? And then in addition to that, we talk about, so we're always talking about different ways that we can bring in and incentivize people to stay, the federal loan forgiveness programs and things like that. We speak about those and say, okay, P.S., 5 years of commitment to a school district in need will help you forgive your loans. So we try to build that up and then incentivize them to stay. So,
Dr. Chatur?
Once again, great presentation. Now,
yes.
2 years ago, when this program was suggested to us, we didn't know where we were going, but we thought it was a great idea, and it really has borne fruit. One of the questions I had was, Vicky stole my first question, so the other question I had was, now you had 80 applicants the second year around, and you've taken 14. So the ones that who didn't make that cut, are you offering them any kind of constructive criticism as to, I mean, these are people who are interested in doing this, right? So are they getting any sort of feedback as to what are the things that they were deficient in, what could they do? Because we want to keep them engaged so they can apply again next year, right?
So we provide feedback to NYU, and then they will provide feedback to the candidates. But I want to just make sure that, you know, of the 80 applicants, we have to look at a balance between the interns for special education, ELA, math, science, and social studies. And what we have seen is that we are getting a lot of applicants for special education, ELA, and social studies, and not many for math and science. And that's where our true need is. So we try to balance out the number of candidates that we're putting in those different areas.
Thank you.
Ms. Alexander-Mann.
Thank you. I think this presentation was great, and so I have a few brief points. The first has to do with looking at our young students now and really talking. I think a program like this is fantastic because it demonstrates and models to our students how the world works. Okay, and you know, with my agency, this is how it works. And so I think that's fantastic. But we had a student speak today at the beginning of the presentation and how she loves math. And you know, so this is the kind of thing that we would want to, or I would encourage that we, you know, tout to any extent possible to, you know, the young woman, Ms. Jones, tonight, but also to, you know, I have a graduating senior who wants to be a teacher, and I am truly going to be touting this like, well, you know, after you go away, I'd love for you to come back, even though the natural progression of adolescence is to leave. But we want folks that are accustomed to living in the Northeast and folks from our community who've done well and succeeded, folks like my colleague Tabitha, we want them to come back, you know, and you know, and I think that that there's already an opportunity and that we can continue to build on that. So that's my thought. Can I just have another question? We talked about folks are coming in from the local area. And are you talking local meaning the city of Albany, or is it local meaning just in general the capital district?
It's a little bit of both. We do have some city residents doing that, but we have reached out and seen some people from Schenectady, a little bit north, in the Clifton Park area. But yeah, the local area. And actually, if I can go back to your comment,
Yes.
Just something that, the superintendent has charged us with and something that we're seeing. So exactly what you were saying, like building those local partnerships, we are in the works looking at things like partnering with St. Rose, who is in our community, knows our students, and those people that have come to Albany in the Capital District are likely to stay. So we're developing those things. I know the local BOCES is developing something as well that we can hopefully partner with them and then create similar type programs where you get a master's degree and then are able to stay in the district.
And may I just have one quick
Would you
point?
mind holding for a second? Because there are other people who have a second one, or is this a direct follow-up?
It is a direct follow-up, but I can wait.
Would you mind waiting? Because there's other people who are waiting. Jen?
So I wanted, first of all, Shadar, you took my question, but I'm going to add on your question. You had said that the math and the science you're having, so presumably they don't have bachelors in math and science to go on to get that that bachelor degree to get that master's. So are we looking to dig even deeper, which would then kind of go back into the high school level to say to our students who haven't gotten to that graduate, you're really great in math, what a great math teacher, did you know we had, and kind of going back into, you've identified some problems, which is great, then where do we go to kind of dig a little deeper that way?
We haven't done that, but it's a great suggestion.
Ms. Smith, I think you had another question?
And I know that I didn't start out thanking you, but I intended to do that. My mind was on the questions. If you don't mind, just a couple more follow-ups on the questions that I had. One, you described where the need was. Do we have the option prerogative of focusing solely on math and science so that we have the need addressed? And one of the reasons I'm asking that is because then we have these candidates out there, right, that are waiting for an appointment in ELA or special ed, and I do want to keep them. I don't even want them going to another district, but I get it. So do we have that prerogative? First was question.
So the problem with what you're suggesting is we are seeing so few candidates for the NYU program with a concentration in math and science. And so anytime we see a math or science candidate, we interview them immediately. And sometimes they have many districts that they're applying to: San Francisco, Colorado, some larger school districts. So, and those candidates, and correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, have really been candidates that are not local. So we're seeing a lot of candidates that are locally certified or have the credentials to pursue a master's in teaching in special education, ELA, and social studies, and not in the sciences. I think out of the 80 candidates, we probably had 5 candidates that were math or science credentialed to pursue a master's.
And as mentioned, unfortunately, those candidates are quite popular. Actually, a couple that we had, there was one candidate I remember us discussing. She lived down in the Bronx. She was considering us in a local charter school. The charter school was like, yes, we will take you. And she said, yes, I will stay here. So it's kind of difficult that we do try to get out there, incentivize why we're a great place to work, great place to live. It's hard to compete sometimes.
Ms. Alexander-Mann, I think you had another question?
And actually, my colleague Vicki has already answered it, so asked and answered.
Fabulous. The system working as it's supposed to. Dr. Tutor.
So we have the shortage in math and science, right? And there are lots of kids graduating with a bachelor's in math or science from SUNY Albany, for example. but not everybody is thinking of a teaching career, right? So do we do anything with the colleges as to go and say, hey, have you thought about this, as teaching as a profession, to get that ball rolling? Because there could be lots of, and everybody wants to go work for some big pharma company or whatever, make the big bucks, and then they struggle because science really doesn't have all the jobs, right? So then it takes a while, but there are things where some of these people might fit right in. They might be great teachers. Not all scientists can teach. Not all teachers can teach science, right? So but there are people who can do both, and they may not have thought of teaching as a career. And if you can show them that, so I don't know if there's any sort of.
So, Dr. Shatur, I'll take that one. Yes, in my conversations with like education departments, I've asked, what are we doing to try and attract people to education? So I'm not going to just speak to Albany. I'm going to take it on a national level. If you look at the statistics nationally, education, competitive salaries are not as competitive. Many times what you run into are mathematics majors who can go and start at $90,000 to $100,000 a year just by walking across the stage. As a teacher, you're not starting at that amount. And so when you're talking about, maybe being the sole breadwinner of the family, when you have those opportunities, at that beginning juncture, that's where that competitive piece comes in. And that becomes I would say that is one of the major challenges that we face in education with our science and mathematics majors. It is highly competitive in the STEM fields, as you know. It is highly competitive, but it's even more competitive when you step outside that realm and look at those careers versus an education career. So do we try to entice and have our education departments reach out for people who may not realize what they can do in education? Absolutely. And those efforts are more targeted at the university level. We would love to be able to get in there and do the Jedi mind trick and get more people interested to come into education, because we do realize that that is a huge area where there's a gap.
You talked about this huge difference in salaries, but believe it or not, I mean, there's lots of scientists out there with PhDs who don't have that job that they would need, which pays that salary. So they're working as postdocs in labs for 40, 50 grand, and some of them get burnt out. And so this would actually be something where I think get to engage with the kids, keep the science going. So I think there are opportunities that we could talk. We'll talk later.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I will say that typically in those fields at this juncture, many of the people that we see are coming back into or coming into education after they have had a career. Then education becomes a second career.
Mr. Petrin, did you have something you wanted to add?
A parallel topic, and because I have the mic and, I just want to be out here. Also, as we look at how we spend our recruiting resources, we do definitely hit college career fairs for teachers because we will get the best bang for our buck. With the recruiters we have in-house, and we are thinking about doing things differently, there's only so many hands to go around, only so much money we can spend. So as we look to expand that budget and modify that budget, we'll definitely, find different ways to engage people.
Ms. Smith? Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Wilson, did you have something?
Thank you so much. I'm just going along the train of thought with Sridhar about attracting people, and I remember this from the HBCU sort of drive that we spoke about with another sort of promoting whatever the marketing and messaging, because I heard you speak about NYU Steinhardt wants to promote and increase the promotion. Also, sort of like a detour career, if you will, with the forgiveness of loans and things of that nature. So I'm sure that'll probably come up in the discussion, but just along the lines of you have a degree in X and you could utilize it because maybe you want to, reduce your loan impact and things of that nature.
And I mean, that's a perfect point. We've actually seen quite a few people, so we are struggling for business teachers, business professionals. It is not a difficult task for you to obtain your certification as long as you have the requisite years of experience, do some education coursework, you're ready. So they can do a transitional pathway and be there instantly, and we have jobs, so.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
I think I do have more than two, I'm sorry. On the question, I think that both I and Dr. Chatur asked, and it's the TAs who were not accepted. And you responded that, I think your question had to do with the feedback they get on their, their academic performance or teaching performance. So I understand that feedback goes to NYU, but maybe I'm answering my own questions. They do get feedback as teaching assistants, correct? And is that using some of the same, the Danielson model, or the other nicer evaluation as well?
So I think I misunderstood your first question. So the feedback that is provided to the NYU candidates for their resident internship program,
Okay.
if they're not accepted into our program, NYU provides the feedback.
Okay.
Once they go through the NYU resident internship program, they're getting feedback from their mentor teachers along the way.
Okay.
They're getting feedback from the NYU faculty along the way in the different content areas. And they're also getting feedback from Patrick, the director of the NYU resident internship program that is assigned to our district. The TAs that I think, and maybe there's a confusion here, so we, out of the 15 resident interns in year one, we were not able to place all of those 15 interns that graduated from the program.
Okay.
If they were not placed in a teaching position, they were then offered a teaching assistant program. Is that clarified
Can I
or
ask
no?
one more point of clarification? Because I do
Sure.
think there's some confusion. In the group of 80 that we started with, how many people worked for the City School District of Albany at the time that they were applying? Because I think that's where that's the question we're asking is, are people who did not get through into the program, do we still keep them, and do they still want to work here?
I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but to answer that question, if we had internal candidates that we did not select, I believe we selected all of them. If they did not, we would absolutely reach out to them and provide them that feedback. Most of a good portion of the 80 were not our candidates, so we did not go as far as providing as much feedback.
If you could put that in the next SBU, because I think the way we're visualizing this program is slightly different than the way it's operating, because we really visualize it as a grow your own program, right? And in some ways it is, right? But the question is, of the 80, how many are our own people? Then of the 15, how many were people who previously worked for the district? I think that would help us really visualize the path that's happening here. Is that right? Okay. Did you have more?
One more?
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned losing maybe some candidates to charter schools, and just I have it on pretty good authority that so charter schools, we're competing against a lot. Number one, you can have now almost up to 15%, 15 teachers uncertified in core subjects. You can have college professors with PhDs and so forth teaching, and being uncertified. You can have, Teach for America candidates and things like that. The one thing I think that we do have going for us, though, not only, do we have a great school district and great things happening, but we also do provide for a pension, which most charter schools do not.
Correct.
So I would like to encourage us to, tout that, because there's retirement. I've seen too many teachers, even here locally, who have not been certified, who've worked for charter schools making a decent salary. Something happens, they're out, and they can't, and they think that they can automatically sort of apply to this district. And the first thing that you have to tell them is, sorry, you're not a certified teacher, and we require that. So anyway, it was just a comment about some of the competing things that we're up against, but I do think we have a great message and we have a great deal to offer.
In our welcome packet that we have designed, that information is illustrated beautifully by our communications division. And it shares a wealth of information about all the benefits of, not just benefits of the school district, but benefits of retirement and health care and things like that that we have.
I don't know, I mean, I love hearing that, and I'm like, oh, wow, now I'd love to see that. I don't know if one time we can just like have it at a meeting where we could just see that welcome package. It's great, though. Great. Thank you.
Ms. Lang, did you have something else?
I just want to, I think, kind of reiterate how we want this program, how we want to grow our own, and I think that those data that we kind of broke down of what we're seeing versus what the reality is, we want our teachers and our students and our community to be our teachers in our district, live in our district, work in our district, and that's been a commitment, and this is one of our metrics for us as a board to show that we are committed to that process. So this is super exciting, and you're doing such a great job of moving it forward, so I want to say thank you.
And I just want to go back to one of the questions that you asked about how we can have our students involved and really recruit them if they're have a love of math and science. And we have a career fair, and we can certainly at the school level, and certainly we can include our students in that and encourage them, and have our NYU resident interns there with hosting a table and getting them involved as well.
Thank you very much. I really think that is really the philosophically where the board is that we believe what Matt, I think, alluded to, which is that our candidates who are the most likely to be successful here in the long term are the people whose roots are the deepest, right? They're the ones that are likely to come and stay and not just do their 2-year commitment and then go someplace else. And so we are looking for every pathway we can possibly find to make our students into teachers of our students. And that's really the pathway that we'd love to see you building. I do have one just quick question, unless somebody else has one also. You talked a little bit about the gaps that were identified in the substitute handbook, and I was wondering if you could share a couple of those gaps. I just don't have insight into what kinds of things you're talking about, and then also share how you are redistributing that handbook to our existing subs, if you are. And I'm also just wanting to clarify whether that's only for building subs or whether that's for our daily subs as well.
Yeah. I'm not going to remember all of the gaps off the top of my head. It was more the idea that the handbook was out of date. And when I looked at it, I think it referred to personnel about 20 times. So we updated that, but also clarified it and more generalized it that, here are some particular guidelines that you need to figure out when you get in your building. So here are fire expectations, here are emergency expectations. Your first stop at the building is to stop at the secretary and the principal and talk about the emergency plans relevant to you. Here are some tips on how best to manage student behavior and things like that, so that although some of these people may come in with those skills, here are some things. Here's how you de-escalate, here's what you do. So kind of freshening up those things and making it more applicable to everybody. That was kind of the gaps.
And are you sharing that with our
Yes.
existing day-to-day subs as well as our building subs?
Yep, every new hire substitute gets that, and then as we basically rolled any interested substitute from last year into this year. We're working on a process to either throughout this year or really end of next year before we roll them again, not a reorientation, but a refresher. Here's the manual, here are some things that you need to do.
Wonderful. I mean, I think that's one of the things that I know that we hear all the time is that we have a lot of subs in our classes for various reasons. We have, some schools have teacher attendance issue, which means that we've got subs in front of our kids, and we need to leverage our substitutes as much as we can because they are in front of our kids maybe, 1 out of every 10 to 12 days that our kids look at a sub, and that's a huge percentage of their education. Ms. Alexander-Mann, did you have something else?
Yeah, just one quick question. It's back to the TAs, those that were brought on, but there wasn't a position that was available. Do they, I guess for lack of a better word, get first dibs when an opening becomes available? Great.
Yes.
The one-word answer. We love the one-word answer. It's so great. Colleagues on the board, have we exhausted our questions? Wonderful. Thank you so much for the excellent information presentation. We turn now to the budget calendar.
Good evening. So tonight we're closing the meeting with the school budget calendar for 2019-20. I'll just give you a very brief overview, and the calendar has been enclosed in your materials. But essentially, this is at a high level, the budget calendar. We've already actually started on some of the tasks. We've already met with the administrators and distributed all of their budget work papers. Some of the milestones on the school budget calendar are the mid-January public workshops. And in mid-January, I'll be coming here and discussing the governor's state aid proposal with you. There's also the schedule in the calendar of the issuance of draft budgets. There'll be one in late January, early March, and early April. Another thing we plan on continuing are the principal-led budget meetings. We do 4 of those meetings regionally. The principal leads them, and they're with the public in their school buildings. In early March, we select 4 schools to do that. We'll also be doing monthly discussion and feedback sessions with our administrators. The calendar also indicates the board will adopt a budget in mid-April. Following the board adoption, we typically do about 10 community forums in April and early May. And then the budget vote is on May 21st. And overall, we have about 28 public meetings on the 2019-20 budget where the budget will be discussed. So it's a very brief overview of what's contained in the calendar, some of the milestones, and I'll turn it back over to the president.
Board colleagues, I suspect we will have less questions about the budget calendar than we did about the formerly known as EMAT program. Nonetheless, we may have some questions. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the budget calendar? Ms. Wilson.
Not so much a question, but I just want to say thank you because I know I was like less than a year on the board and you took some of my suggestions about budget, so I appreciate that. And I'm very excited about this upcoming year. And more so just, and maybe I just overlooked it, I was just wondering about well, actually, I think we'll get into that later, but thank you so much.
Okay.
Ms. Lang?
So I want to incorporate our legislative budget that we did, and if there's some way to maybe bullet or have kind of the one letter that we sent to the governor about our budget requests, so that when we're at this meeting, at least everyone really is on the same page of some of the things that we're doing and advocating to get the money and regarding to the budget. So I just wanted to kind of add that now that we've done it for 3 years, we know what we're doing, we're pretty solid on that.
Yeah, so I think that would probably be something we could have in here as a line item, maybe December, share out our legislative proposals, et cetera. So I can add that.
That's always a very impressive document. Thank you, Communications Department and Government Affairs Committee, for the excellent work on the priority topics for legislation this year. It's really always fantastically well put together. Anyone else? I would like to propose, even though I am not suggesting that we would ever actually deliver an unlimited number of meetings, I really would like to take out the at most 10, especially this year where we will be explaining most likely maybe you already did take it out since the draft I saw.
It says up to 10.
Yeah, I would like to remove up to 10 because the reality is if there are groups in our community who want to learn about our budget and our referendums that we are going to need to be talking about this spring, we're going to do that whether it is 10, 11, or 12. And so I think that's an artificial constraint and not one that we would actually hold ourselves to.
Right.
I do understand the impact on staff and on board members of attending many, many community meetings, but when we have significant budget referenda in front of our community, it's something that I think we need to do. Ms.
Okay,
Smith?
and that
I-
wasn't the intent to
I
limit
know.
that. I mean,
I
historically,
know.
it's always been 8 to 10. I don't think we've ever said no.
Yeah,
but
I would just take it out.
I can
because
remove that
just
out,
say,
that's fine.
community forum scheduled, blah, blah, blah. Ms.
Okay.
Smith?
I just wondered if perhaps we talked about it, I just do not recall. I don't know why I'm tired tonight, but I am. But is it possible for us, and I see Mr. Lesko in the back too, to have a video presentation of the budget forum? You know, I mean, at some opportune point, maybe after, like, you want people to come out and be able to comment, so I don't want to take away that, but at some point, there would be a
Are
very
you,
nice
are you
communication
suggesting
piece.
as a way of communicating the referenda
Is
and budget?
The process, the substantive pieces of the budget, that kind of thing.
Okay.
If I could jump in and address that, Mr. Hogan and I are already working with Jake on how to make that presentation align with our return on investment, and even have students speak to what the funding has done for them directly, those that are in programs that we specifically funded, so that there's a direct connection between what was requested, what was approved, what has been spent, and what was the impact of those expenditures.
That sounds fantastic. We
And the
can't wait to
new,
see that.
last year, we did add for the first time just a video for the principal-led discussions. That was a video of me giving an overview of the budget, and then, so that all the schools got the same message. And then the principals took it after the short video and for the Q&A and discussions.
I'm sorry, I knew I was hesitating because I did not remember that. I apologize, because you all do so much great work around that, so I do apologize. But I like the kind of also additional pieces that you've added, just so, thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Shore?
You know, when we have those public forums, they happen to be around February, March, and not the best time for getting to those meetings. So I like the idea of having at least one, because most of the stuff is repetitive unless things have changed between the two meetings. So if you can have a recording of that online, so people who wanted to come but couldn't because of wonderful upstate New York weather can access those and, you know, listen to your beautiful voice explaining this stuff rather than just a PowerPoint file where I don't no idea what this means.
Right. Okay.
One question, there's the date of April the 5th, latest date to publish the first of 4 legal notices, that's just the date. That legal notice is just the date of the vote, so we don't have to have the budget by April 5th. The property tax
Correct.
report card date, which is April 12th, that's when that's really the critical.
Right, and the
date.
5th is a hard day. There's regulations on how many days you got to be out in front of the budget vote to start publicizing.
But we don't need the budget by then.
Right.
We know that. We could put
Right.
those out tomorrow if we wanted to, because we
Right.
have that information. What we
Correct.
don't have is the content, because I'm just looking at the April 1, which is when we certainly hope our state legislature will come together around a budget, and the April 12th, that's not a lot of time. If the budget is late, we're going to be back to, a wing and a prayer of budgeting. So, but the April 5th is not the issue, it's the April 12th. Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? Ms. Wilson?
Well, I just want to point to what you stated was the question that I was certain would come up at a later date was basically furthering the public's understanding around the budget process. I'm glad you asked it. And I was looking for, and I couldn't really identify if this was going out in any of our newsletters, like to prime them, because we had a lot of discussion around, for example, the middle school and the location. And I'm certain that'll kind of like coalesce, and just wanted to understand if that would be like some advance notice for them.
We do that, and we always send a budget newsletter. The big glossy one goes out to the whole community, not just to families, but to every single family. That's the big shiny one. It goes out before the budget vote. It's part of the lead up to the budget.
So the principal-led community discussions would be the opportunity to engage families more so in advance.
And there's also a reminder to vote that goes out by SNN fairly regularly. I'm correct about that, right, Mr. Lesko? Mr. Lesko's nodding. We're always very careful to be in keeping with the state law about advocating for the budget versus advocating for voting, and we are very emphatic about encouraging our folks to go out and vote. In fact, one of the great times to do that, which hopefully I'd love to see this become more systematized because it doesn't happen at every one, is the spring concert series. Correlates very nicely with the budget season. So it's wonderful when at the spring concerts there can be a reminder for people to go vote. Jen, did you have something?
I was just going to say a lot of the principals incorporated in their PTA meeting that's closest to, so they'll have 15 minutes to talk about it at a PTA meeting, so they can do both of them, and then also add the vote for the other events, and that's something that we can definitely coordinate.
And we actually, when we met with the administrators earlier this month, we actually told them these are the dates and try to align your PTA or some community event that same day, because then you'll get a bigger crowd.
Yeah, one of the things that's interesting in Albany is that in many school districts, they only have 1 or 2 polling places, and they can work it around a school event. So you have the big concert that night, and everybody votes at the high school. And so you're actually walking into the building to see your kid perform, and you just take a little detour over here and vote. Because we make a really strong effort to make sure that our polling places are located within the community so that people who have transportation challenges don't have to go across town to vote, that's not as easy necessarily because they don't necessarily vote at their school. And so that is something that's a little bit of a unfortunate aspect of the way our polling places lay out. Anyone else on the budget calendar? Otherwise, we will adopt this, or we can always discuss it further, but we will adopt it at our next board meeting.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Hogan. So, while I know you would all love to hear me ask for a motion to adjourn, I'm not going to do that. I am going to ask for a motion to enter executive session. I will let the few members of the public who are still here with us know that we do not plan to return to public session. So I'm going to entertain a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of, discussing matters leading to the employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person. May I have a motion? Ms. Wilson, seconded by Ms. Roach. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, everyone.